let's
Great
push
rant.
on. It would be really nice to get to document like 200
Yeah.
today. I would feel
I
quite
think
good about that.
I would love to do that. And I know a lot of people have either left or
Oh
have to
my
go to sleep.
God, have you seen this?
Oh, what? Which
This
one?
document, SIGINT leaders peer into the future and see a global system.
What? I'm on that right now. That is incredible. No, I hadn't read it yet. That is nuts.
You've got to be joking me.
This is massive.
This
Just
is
title.
now I'm going to have another rant. This is globalization. Like literally, this isn't even globalization. This is the engine behind this is the creation of the infrastructure of globalization. Like,
Absolutely.
there's the corporate and political aspects, but this is what it is running on. Globalization is running on the global SIGINT system. This is what is allowing it to happen, to be perpetuated.
It's true. It's horrible. It's horrifying, and it's true. And
I mean,
if
you needed any further evidence that the leaders of the intelligence agencies are literally a bunch of globalists. Like, here it is.
Yep, absolutely. That's amazing. And
they do not believe in nation states. They really don't believe in nation. They've abdicated the concept of nation states. They want to own them all as one. It's like a total domination agenda. I mean, look, even the language, you can see it.
Flew around the world to attend the annual SIGINT Site Commanders Operational Review here at Fort Meade. Focused on how we are to govern the global SIGINT network in the 21st century. It went very well. Gave extended enterprise leaders the opportunity to look into the complexities of the task facing us, which is global domination, and allowed them to participate in designing solutions. They didn't come out with a finished plan, but they did organize an appreciation for the biggest component of this transformation, which is their behavior as an organization. That is to say, how they will interact with each other so that they have the right people doing the mission in the most efficient way. This goes beyond flowcharts and mission and function statements. During the conference, it became clear that they must become a net-centric organization, which is an organization that is truly a network of collaborative partners instead of one based strictly on traditional hierarchies or a hub-spoke structure. The capstones of a net-centric organization are transparency and collaboration. And then they say that they need a transparent network to show all of the SIGINT players what all of the other players are doing. In the military, this is called a common operating picture, or COP. In order to create such an environment, they must first invest in their future infrastructure, and a few points on that included some elements of the infrastructure already exist, some are being built, others are part of a long-term acquisition program. They will not wait until all the pieces are in place to start using them. That's interesting. Users will develop the tools they need. The infrastructure will require oversight, but the oversight will be facilitative and supportive rather than directive. They will set the basic environment and let this common operating picture grow over time. You can think of this as an internet model for the global network. All SIGINTers will be able to participate. This investment in their infrastructure will also create an environment that will enable and foster the second capstone of a net-centric operating environment, which is an environment of collaboration. Collaboration in this sense is not limited to analysis, but on governance and decision-making as well. They want everyone to be able to work together in a push-pull manner across the global enterprise to make the right individual and corporate decisions on how to best produce SIGINT. They will aim for good decision-making throughout the system, not a top-down approach, and intend to create collaborative environments to allow this to happen. Of course, the SIGINT leadership will be responsible for making decisions to resolve issues when conflicts arise, but top-level involvement will be the exception rather than the norm. There will be more on our SCOR observations in the next article. Meanwhile, continue your great work and your great teamwork. Wow. There's not a whole lot of very specific documentation of what they're doing. They're kind of more talking about conceptual goals, but I thought it was interesting that they're going to be starting to use they're not going to wait until all the pieces are in place to, quote, start using them. I thought that was interesting. But
look, a bunch of this is just propaganda.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally propaganda.
Yeah,
So
there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing concrete.
this here, no, this is they're propagandizing their employees. So
True.
they're saying the capstones of a net-centric organization are transparency and collaboration. You have
Yeah,
got to be kidding me.
it's
Like,
such a joke.
transparency to
Yeah,
this is probably the least transparent organization on earth claiming to be transparent. So who precisely is it that they're going to be transparent to? We know they don't want to be transparent to Congress. They definitely don't want to be transparent to the courts. They don't want to be transparent to the public. And they don't even want to be transparent to their customers. Quite a lot.
It's absolutely true.
Who is it that they want to be transparent to? They want to be they want the organization to be transparent to its masters.
True.
And as for collaboration, they're talking about collaboration in facilitating the collection of the data of the entire planet. They're not talking about collaboration and like the betterment of humanity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, what really strikes me about this, and is interesting in the context of other things I've been studying, is that this is exactly the type of language that I would expect to come out of an NGO.
True.
I
Very
would
true.
expect this type of thing. The capstones of a net-centric organization are transparency and collaboration. If you stuck an EFF letterhead on the top of that,
Yeah.
I would think it's an EFF document.
Yeah, no, I can see where you're coming from with that. That's crazy.
If you stuck a Transparency International or Privacy International or anything logo on the top of that document, I would think. There's a really fascinating interview by someone at EFF who should remain unnamed, where they're referring to General Hayden from the NSA, and they're saying Hayden and I were coming at this. We were essentially saying the same things, but from two different angles. This is the most classic example I've seen of them saying the same thing as the NGOs say, but from different angles.
Okay, yeah.
Listen to the language here. We must become an organization, a network of collaborative partners instead of one based strictly on traditional hierarchies.
Yeah.
NSA is the ultimate hierarchy.
Exactly.
But this is like all like lip service. This is complete lip service. But honest to God, take that paragraph and think about what other organizations could say that.
Yeah.
Other than the NSA, and you wouldn't even blink.
Very true. And then also, I remember we've talked before about their kind of lip service to executive accessibility, and like they're talking at the bottom of the document about top down it's only going to be like really limited executive involvement. And I, again, like you're saying, I feel like that's definitely speaking to a propagandized version of reality where it's actually the complete opposite. But
we need a transparent network to show all the second players what the other players are doing. Well, no, that's not true, because for a start, what does it say at the top of this document? It has a classification. They're never going to show all of the players what all of the players are doing. That's just, this is what I mean about propaganda. This is total propaganda. Like, what is this right here? This is determining who can see it and who can view it and who can read it. There's nothing about that that is non-hierarchical. There's nothing about that is transparent whatsoever. The collaboration that they're after is so that they can have transparency to the hierarchy.
Yep.
But it's very interesting that they internally are selling this.
And they're and what they're also, like you've said before, they're talking about using the resources of other countries, or tapping into the actual SIGINT producing resources of countries they have agreements with. But absolutely, there's not going to be that reverse dynamic where, I mean, I think we have talked about obviously swimming upstream, but there's not the equal and opposite reciprocation of that access, obviously. So this whole document, like you're saying, is a complete joke. It's ridiculous.
I'm just tweeting this.
Yeah.
if you guys want to retweet me.
No, that's an extremely crazy document. I mean, the actual content of it isn't as groundbreaking. But the titling is insane.
The title's insane, but the contents are pretty insane as well, to be honest.
Yeah, well, that's true.
That is incredible. Really, really incredible. Okay, I mean, it fits in exactly with all the other, you know, Global Network Forum and everything documents that we've reviewed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my tweet that I've just sent, I'll show you guys. This is the tweet I just sent, just in case you had any doubts that the leaders of the intelligence agencies are globalists.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just retweeted you. That is just crazy. And this is the type of thing that I'm going to link later. I'm going to throw that onto the Reddit as well, so they can just go straight to the link and just have the title of the thread, you know, what you said. So yeah, and I know that a few people have left because of needing to go to crash for the night. But for anybody who's still here, if you want to like look back at stuff we've done, please do try to go to the Reddit, because everything that we go through here, it's not lost. We throw it there, and you know, it's easily available. So
I really want to have another read through this document, because I actually, to be honest, I feel that this is one of the most significant documents that we have reviewed, actually.
Definitely.
So
yeah, go right ahead.
The global system. So they're talking about organizational behavior, but this is all about engineering of the systems. It's actually nothing to do with the organizational behavior whatsoever. So again, they're characterizing it as being about the people, but this is not about the people at all. This is about the systems. It's systems engineering. When they're saying, how will we interact with each other? They are not talking about how they'll interact with each other. They're talking about how their systems will interact with each other. They're talking about how they will obtain the information that each other possesses. It's very different from just how we'll interact with each other. Do you understand what I mean by that?
Yeah.
They're literally talking about in the data flow. It's back to the data flow stuff.
Yeah.
They're wanting to, and back to the data acquisition. This is entirely about data acquisition and data flows between organizations.
Absolutely. And they're wanting to be a giant parasite.
And this right people doing the mission in the most efficient way. Like this is, again, this is HR propaganda. This whole document is focused at propagandizing the people to make them feel good about the global system that they're creating. So all of this, I can't get over this paragraph, because this paragraph just to me says it all. This says so much. It became clear that we must become a net-centric organization. Now, net-centric makes it sound like, you know, cutting edge and all about the internet and free flow information and blah, 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 blah. But again, it's about systems, it's about data acquisition, it's about collecting and owning the data of all of the agencies. These are foreign agencies. These are not just American agencies. When they're talking about global network and we must work together and whatever, interact with each other, they're talking just about sucking up the data of all these countries. It's exactly what it comes down to.
Exactly.
Capstones of a net-centric organization, transparency and collaboration. The most non-transparent organization in the world is promoting itself as being about transparency. And they are selling that here, this collaboration is we will make it as easy as possible for you, foreign country, to give us all of your data. And we'll call it collaboration. We're collaborating. We're collaborating by tapping every single internet cable in the world and hauling massive amounts of data and storing it all in Utah. That's collaboration in NSA speak.
Yeah, it's being a parasite or a leech or something.
Again, we need a transparent network to show all of the players what all the other players are doing, except all the players can't see what all the other players are doing, because we know that the United States and Israel share information that the Five Eyes partners do not receive. And we know that the Five Eyes partners share information that the Western European nations do not receive. And we know that the Western European nations and the Five Eyes share information that a whole bunch of other countries do not receive. For example, Spain is not receiving the same amount of data from the USA or their relationship with the USA as Germany is. And Germany is not receiving the same amount that Canada is. And Canada is not receiving the same amount that Israel is. And in theory, the USA has information that it keeps only for the USA. So this has got a goddamn thing to do with collaboration or transparency whatsoever. It's a giant red herring. So they call being able to see each other a common operating picture, but what they're trying to do is give themselves a picture of everybody else, and everybody else is who they think of as the commoners. They are the data commoners. They are just another country to collect on, just another country to sell a vision of transparency and collaboration in order to convince them to give up all of their data and to collaborate. What is a collaborator? In military terms, what is a collaborator?
I mean, it's somebody that...
It is someone who collaborates with an occupying force.
That's true.
It is someone who collaborates against the interests of their own country. So they're looking for military collaboration. They're not looking for civilian collaboration.
Absolutely. I mean, this is like the NSA version of 1984 doublespeak, where they talk about, freedom is slavery and all those reversals. This is a complete reversal when they talk about collaboration and transparency.
Now look at this sentence. So what have I just told you? I've just told you that these paragraphs where they're going on about the human element and working together and collaboration and blah, blah, blah. I've just literally told you that that is about data acquisition and data flows and system design, that it has fucking nothing to do with HR.
Yeah.
And now what do we see here? In order to create the environment, we must first invest in our future infrastructure. So they are now literally saying, they're letting slip exactly what I just said. That actually, for all that feel-good stuff that we've just propagandized you with, actually it's an infrastructure issue. And that just validates precisely what I've been saying, that this is a system issue. This is about data acquisition. It has absolutely nothing to do with transparency and collaboration and the right people for the right job. And where is it up here where they're saying we need to have the right people, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not about having the right people. They don't care. If you die tomorrow, they'll find someone else to do your job. It's got nothing to do with the right people.
Yeah.
What it is about is systems, a global system.
Very, very good encapsulation.
Yeah. And that's where we get to the meat of the document, and the meat of the document is this. Some elements of this infrastructure already exist. So what they're saying there is they're saying part of our global network of global control is already in place. Some of it we are currently building, and others we are going to have to build in the long term. They're in our strategic planning. We will not wait until all the pieces are in place to start using them. Does that sound collaborative?
Incredible. It's
incredible. Does that sound collaborative? No, that sounds like we are going to utilize all of the power at our fingertips at every opportunity with a total disregard for, when and how it might suit others to do so. We will not wait.
Exactly. Oh, this is
Users
huge.
will help to develop the tools they need, but they don't finish the sentence. Users will help to develop the tools they need in order to give us the data that we want to acquire from their systems.
Exactly.
The infrastructure will require oversight, but now you can basically just stop the sentence there. Because that's actually the entire point is in those, 6 words. The infrastructure will require oversight, but. So what they're saying is we have to say that it will require oversight because we're legally obliged to have oversight. But we actually don't give a toss about oversight. We wish it didn't exist and we'll do everything we can to subvert or get around it. So actually, now we're going to tell you how we're going to sell that as being all right, which is this part.
Yeah.
The oversight will be facilitative and supportive rather than directive. Oversight is supposed to be directive. Oversight by its inherent nature is these are the rules that bind you. These are the borders that you cannot step over. This is how your work is contained to its intended purpose. Oversight has nothing to do with being facilitative in the context of an intelligence agency.
Yeah.
They have rules. So what are they saying here by saying, but it will be facilitative, is they're actually saying you won't be restricted by the rules that bind us, which is what you're supposed to be. Instead, the oversight, which is supposed to come from the leadership, will instead facilitate you to create the future global infrastructure. Because then the next thing that you have to remember is that none of this is mandated.
True.
This global vision, blah, 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 exactly when did the American people vote on this?
Exactly.
Exactly when did Congress give an authorization for the NSA to basically take over the planet?
True.
In the NSA charter, does it say that the purpose of the agency is to literally consume every other country on Earth? No.
Absolutely not.
So what it's saying is that the leaders want the global system.
That's true.
Not that the American public want it, not that the Congress wants it, not that the law demands it, not that the rules of oversight and governance stipulate that they're allowed to do this or that it's okay to do this. They have a goal of global supremacy, and there's absolutely nothing in their charter or in the law or in the congressional oversight committees saying take over the planet. But this is literally what they want to do, is take over the planet.
That's true. And I mean, we saw that way back in the third batch of Snowden files when we looked at the US UK agreements, wasn't it? I think, or Five Eyes agreements being signed way decades before the leader of the countries involved even knew about it. I remember that a long time ago. That was one of the first streams I did with you. So the point being that these intelligence agencies act in a way that is not even known a lot of the time by the leaders of their own countries. So again, that's the absolute definition of globalism, is to have a group that is so beyond the reach of elected leaders and transnational.
It's very interesting to me that while they're obsessed with enforcing geographical borders, they are destroying not just digital borders, but they are exploiting.
Yeah.
They're exploiting entirely. and they're subverting. I mean, they've subverted the will of the public, they've subverted the will of the judiciary, they've subverted the will of the Congress, and they're just on their own scheme. And the other interesting factor is that, you know, like the country mansion visit that we were just covering earlier, and et cetera, et cetera. These guys are cooking up their own plans on their own little jaunts, and then they are pushing that internally to the NSA staff. Like, where is the oversight at the country mansion meeting of the spy leaders?
It's true.
There is none. Okay, I want to keep going through the rest of this document because I think ad-libbing this is actually quite important, because if you take it at the surface view, it just looks like a very corporate doc and corporate speak and whatever, but it actually belies their true intentions when you study the language.
Yeah, and also I will note as well that sometimes when I'm writing the long form articles on this content, a lot of times your ad libs are extremely helpful and important, as far as like and I will often quote what you say in those types of ad libs about like the significance of what the document says. It's really, really useful for me as a journalist going back and reading through, listening to these streams. So I don't think that is too much of a delay at all.
Okay, so the infrastructure will require oversight. We're saying this because we have to, but in fact, we're just going to facilitate you implementing this global system of domination and support you doing that, rather than direct you back to the actual rules that are supposed to bind you, which is the oversight. We will set the basic environment, means we will give you the evil plan that we expect you to execute, and let the definition of that mission grow. Now look, this in itself, this is mission creep.
Definitely.
This is literally mission creep.
Cancerous.
What they call the COP,
where is it? Common operating picture.
Yeah, the common operating picture. We're going to let it grow. It needs to grow because it needs to become a global system. I mean, it already is. We're still in 2004, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So that's how far back we're picking this up.
Nuts.
Right, so where are we? Mission creep. Let the mission creep grow over time. You can think of this as an internet model for our global networks. Now that scares the crap out of me, because this is the same language that we hear out of the so-called internet freedom fighters.
That's true.
Now, you don't hear it out of Assange or WikiLeaks or anyone like that, the legit people, but you hear that out of the well-funded NGOs that are allowed to operate freely on American soil. This is exactly the kind of thing that you hear from them.
And they surprisingly don't have a lot of backlash.
Net-centric transparency and collaboration internet model for global networks. And I love this. This is fantastic. All SIG-inters will be able to participate. What they mean is all SIG-inters have to participate, because all SIG-inters access and filter data. And the data is what this whole system is built on and is about, the acquisition of data. So they sell it like you will be able to participate. Like, look, isn't this wonderful that you will be a part of this? But actually, they're mandating that they be a part of it because they need them to be a part of it.
Yeah, all signatures will be forced to participate. Definitely.
Yeah. But I mean, this whole document, that's why I say it's a propaganda document, because they're propagandizing the employees that this is okay. Not only is it okay, it's a good thing. It's transparent and collaborative and blah, 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 but it's the total opposite.
Yeah, that they're portraying it as if these individuals are gonna, or these organizations are gonna get something out of it, where actually they're going to be consumed, or their data and their information is going to be consumed, as opposed to them benefiting. So
the investment in our infrastructure will also create an environment that will enable and foster the second capstone of a net-centric operating environment. And environment of collaboration. So the fact that they're now onto collaboration is suggesting that what they just described was about transparency. But nothing in here is about transparency. They've done away with oversight, so that's the opposite of transparency. They are implementing immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't even stipulate anything further here. This could be a document in and of itself if they're actually going to talk about which aspects are already in place, which are currently being built, and what the long-term picture is. They haven't really said that at all. I mean, all they've said is they need to invest in the infrastructure, and then that again is not about transparency. Moving along, that collaboration in this sense is not limited to analysis, but on governance and decision making as well. We want everyone, see, this governance, that's not where the governance decisions should be.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that the governance decision would be made at the bottom of the organization. It's impossible. Literally impossible.
Yeah.
If they're talking about systems governance, there's absolutely no way in hell that they're going to put systems governance decision in the hands of their users and employees. No way. We want everyone to be able to work together in a push-pull manner across the global enterprise to make the right individual and corporate decisions on how best to produce. Aha! So here we go. So they're telling them, you're going to have governance and decision-making say so, but this is the crux right here on how to produce the data.
True.
On how to dish up what we want from you. We will allow you to work together in a push-pull manner to give us what we want. We will aim for good decision-making throughout the system. And see, again, here, the decision-making they're talking about is to produce the data.
Yeah.
It's not decision-making on whether or not there should be a crazy global system of supremacy. It's decision-making on how best to hand over to us what we want to have from you.
Definitely.
Not a top-down approach. And intend to create collaborative environments to allow this to happen. Like water skiing in Hawaii. Of course, the leadership will be responsible for making...
or 3,000 acre, parties that we have in the UK,
Well, that's so transparent.
Yeah.
Our 3,000 acre property is totally transparent. Of course, the SIG leadership will be responsible for making decisions to resolve issues.
So yeah,
we're not going to make decisions because we're driving this entire thing and it's our grand scheme. We're just going to do it to resolve issues.
Yeah, which for your benefit, really,
But top level involvement will be the exception rather than the norm, because we may be holidaying at a 3,000 acre mansion in London at the time that we need to resolve conflict.
Yeah, or bungee diving over a Pine Gap or something, bungee jumping or something. I don't know, but
right, the Aussie one. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, the one.
There'll be more on our score observations in my next article. Well, good, because I would love to see the next article about this.
Yeah, me too, definitely. I'm hoping there's a part 2 for sure.
That is phenomenal, and I'm making notes now.
Definitely. Yeah, no, this is going to be a huge I hope Fly is going to be in the mood to make this a giant segment, and definitely going to be a huge point to write about for both of us probably. And I have started on my next long form article, but by the time I get back through like a number of our streams, we've already done like 4 more. So I'm like eternally, exponentially more and more behind. So whatever, it'll be fine. But God, this is an incredible document. It's been a really fruitful, awesome evening as far as the various different topics that we've been able to discuss in this, and we've had some really good documents come up, I think.
Yeah, look, someone on Twitter has just pointed out to me Brzezinski's manifesto, The Grand Chessboard, American Primacy and its Geostrategic Imperatives, 1997. So for those who aren't familiar with it, it's one of the most evil documents that's ever been authored. I mean, it's really evil. It involves plans for breaking Russia up into 3 different, Asian, Western European, and Central European Russia, all kinds of horrible shit. He's basically carved up the globe to suit him. And Brzezinski's been knee deep in war. This is the Brzezinski that died this year, whose daughter Mika is on Morning Joe in America.
Yeah.
So what Brzezinski is saying is America has the right to rule the entire planet, and this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And not only that, but it is an imperative for America to rule the entire planet.
Of course, of course.
And never mind that achieving such a thing will probably kill a few 100 million people. It's okay, because at the end, America will own everything. And so, it's back to the end of the ends justifies the means.
Yeah, definitely.
But the reason it's interesting that someone has just pointed that out to me is because it shows that Cockatoo says, I'm really enjoying this. Yeah, this is my idea of a hot night.
Friday night.
Lecturing on NSA documents. Okay. It shows that there is a philosophical school of thought that has created this predisposition of the leaders of the intelligence community to believe that it is their God-given right to be in a position of supremacy and institute a global network to control the fate of the entire planet.
Yeah.
They have absolutely zero doubt that this is what they should be doing. And the fact that the pesky laws and the pesky Congress and the pesky opinions of the public get in the way of that is just something to sidestep for them. Just as in that document, they sidestep the issue of oversight. Oversight is important, but
we'll do the things that we want to do anyway. Thanks.
Exactly.
Lip service. It's just lip service.